I love it. I appreciate it. As we're joining towards Matan Torah, so I would like to take a few moments um, to speak about what is it that we're actually doing on Shavuot. Not long ago, might have shared this with you. I hosted a group of Air Force pilots. It was the Pirchei Tais, they call them. 33 members who finished 3 years of training and becoming pilots, and they were coming on a 3-day tour of Yerushalayim to get to know Yerushalayim, to get to know the different neighborhoods. And the head of the program got my number. This is going back a few years. And he said, I want my soldiers not only to get to know the locations of Yerushalayim, the stones of Yerushalayim, the stories and the history behind those stones. I want them to meet the people of Yerushalayim that live in Yerushalayim today. Could you arrange that? That was our conversation. He said, I heard you in Esha Torah, you give a beautiful presentation, explanation about Yerushalayim. I should send that out actually to our community. It's on aish.com. I did a whole virtual tour. You should go check it out. It was a lot of fun filming it. But he wanted to meet the people. So I planned the whole program with him. And I told him, I could also arrange some rabbinical students, avrechim, to come from the Mir Yeshiva, and that could be an interesting mifgash, an interesting get-together for these Air Force pilots meeting with the avrechim. And he was all excited about it. We went ahead with it. I called some people in the Mir Yeshiva. They were coming from the Mir Yeshiva. I don't know if everyone is actually a student there right now, but it was avrechim coming together with pilots. It was one-on-one, one-on-two, whatever it was. And it was a beautiful sight to see the ritcha and the achdut. It was everyone, we pretty much opened it up. We said everyone could ask any question they want to ask. They could be interested in other people's lives and what they do, as long as it's done with respect. We started off with a big circle, and then we broke up into little groups, and it was amazing. It was amazing to see the connection, to see the conversation between people. And I was sitting with somebody also. Everyone was sitting with different people. I was sitting with the commander, and the commander of this group. So we get to know one another. Then he's like, I'm really fascinated by this. He's like, what do you do all day? So I explained to him my daily schedule. At the time, I wake up in the morning. I have a shul, and then I learn, and then I prepare classes, and then I learn a little bit more. He's like, why do you learn so much? Like, why is there so much Torah learning in Judaism, to the point that even people that it's not their profession, he said, if you're a rabbi, I understand. But he said, because I was explaining to him the whole way of Jewish, even doctors, they're learning, and the soldiers, they're learning, and everyone is connected to, like, what's so important about learning? You learned it, you know it, you know the story. I know Tanakh, I know it, so why do you keep on learning? And it was a very profound question. And that question really cuts to the core of who we are. And why is it that we're learning? And why is it that there is excitement around Shavuot to stay up all night and to learn? But what does it mean to have a kviyut itim la Torah, to make sure that we're learning women's programs and men's program? And it doesn't matter what our profession in our life is. It's part of our life is to be studying Torah. If you saw videos from the Siyum HaShas, it's inspiring to see so many people, different walks of life. They know that the Gemara is with them, the Chumash is with them, the Mishnah is with them. Why? Why is it? Why is it so important to learn so much? And especially, it's like, oh, the Gemara, is that you know exactly what to do from you learn the Gemara? When I learn Daf Yomi, I don't necessarily know what to do. So should we just be learning halacha? Should we be learning, why are we learning Chumash? Why is that so important? So it's like to try to understand that. So I didn't give him this whole full answer, but I'll share with you a little bit of the concept of what I shared with him. But I'll explain it to us already in preparation for the holiday of Shavuot. You look at the Gemara, the Talmud in Masechah Shabbos Daf Peiches has a fascinating story, and it's pretty much it recalls the incident of Moshe Rabbeinu going up to Shamayim. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Shamayim, and he's ready to receive the Torah. And the angels say, God, you want to give this heavenly manuscript, this heavenly code of law, of values, you want to give this to a human being? Male yelud isha benenu. Chamuda genuza shegenuza lechat teisha meos v'shivim ve'arba doros kodem shenivra olam. Ata mevakish litnu lebasar v'dam. You want to give this to flesh and blood, so God turns, and they say, Ma enosh ki tizkerenu, right? Uven adam ki tifkedenu, Hashem Elokim ma adir shimcha b'chol haaretz asher teda otcha l'shamayim. Leave your hod, your glory on the shamayim. So Kadosh Baruch Hu returns to Moshe and says, Moshe, what do you got to say in response? They have a good taina. Tena hodcha b'shamayim. So Moshe Rabbeinu goes on a whole conversation. First, he says, oh, I'm scared they're going to burn me. And then Hashem says, no, hold on to my heavenly throne, and I'm going to cover you and protect you. Okay, now what's your answer? And he says, well, let's look what it says inside. We look at the 10 Commandments. It says, I am Hashem who took you out of the land of Egypt. He said, were you angels, slaves in Egypt? I am Hashem who you have to work 6 weeks, 6 days a week, and then rest on the 7th day. Do you guys work? You're not allowed to kill. You're not allowed to steal. He's like, do you guys even have a desire to kill or to steal or to do idol worship? You guys are angels. The Torah is clearly written for us human beings with all of our setbacks. So therefore, why is it that you think that it should stay up there? And then they all agreed, and then they said, you're right. We don't even have jealousy. We don't have anything. And that's what they said, Hashem Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol Haaretz, that your name is glorified in the land. And the Mefarshim ask, what exactly was the Havamina of the Malachei Asharis? What were they thinking? That the Torah was written for the angels? The Torah is clearly not written for the angels. And yet, they still demanded the Torah to stay up in Shammai. What were they thinking? From their Havamina, we could see a little bit, and from Moshe Rabbeinu's teretz, that he said, no, the Torah is meant to be for us because we could live Torah. We could see exactly, we could start understanding what is it that we're doing, that we're learning. And I'll introduce another Gemara. The Gemara over there in Shabbos gives another thing, which is the two most famous words that actually were said before Matan Torah. They were said right before we received the Torah on Hey Sivan. That's when Bnei Yisrael said, Naaseh v'nishma. We will do and we will hear. Naaseh is asiyah, is doing. We're ready to do whatever you tell us to do, and we're ready to listen. V'nishma, we're ready to listen to whatever you'll tell us to listen to. And the Gemara says, when they said we will do before we will listen, that's when Hashem said, each and every one of you deserve a crown, 2 crowns, one for Naaseh, one for Nishma, which means that if they would have said we will listen and then we will hear, they wouldn't have gotten the crowns. The crowns came because they said we will do before they said we will listen. Now you have to understand what that means. So there's a fascinating Beis HaLevi. The Beis HaLevi breaks down the Torah learning into 2 categories. He says we learn Torah for 2 reasons, and that's one of them is Naaseh, and one of them is Nishma. And this was the core of what I was trying to say over to that IDF Air Force pilot general. Said there's 2 reasons why we learn. Number 1 is Naaseh, is we need to learn in order to know how to best live our life. When you buy a new car, so you already know how to drive a car, but there's also a manual book that comes with it that teaches you all the different tricks and all the little buttons. When you buy a new computer program, comes with it also that manual book that teaches you and describes to you how to best use the product that you use. Every single thing that is created for a purpose. And the one who created it for the customers wants the people to know how to best use it, and therefore they give them a book that will describe how to best use it. That is exactly what learning for Asiyah means. We are given the Torah, which is the manual book, the blueprint for the world. In order to know what to do, we could figure out a lot of things in our life, right? We go to college. Why do we go to college? We go to college to learn a trade. Why is it important for us to learn a trade? To make a parnasa, to make a living. You ask a person, would you rather be happily married, with a great relationship with your kids, and you're really sameach in your life, but you're not as I'm even going to do it extreme. You're not as successful in your business, but you're okay. You're making it through, you're okay. Or very successful in your business, but not a good relationship, not happy with your marriage, no real relationship with your kids, but you're very successful in your business. Which one would most normal people choose? They want to have a happy life. They want to have a happy relationship. They want to have an ability to relate to their kids. But do we go to school to learn how to have a happy life? Is there schooling that teaches us about relationships, that teaches us about marriage, that teach us about how to overcome our angers and our setbacks and how to work on our values and what should be our goals in life and how to align our priorities? Is there a university that teaches that? Do people pay money for that? No, people don't pay money for that. But that's exactly where the Torah comes in. The Torah comes into play. It's a book of values. It's a manual book. It's the best way to live your life. And that is what the Beis Halevi calls na'aseh. We learn the Torah in order to know the halachos, the mitzvos. And the halachos and the mitzvos are sort of like the actionables of life. And that's why he says halacha l'maisa. The Sfardim, they paskin that you don't say a bracha. Women do not say a bracha on mitzvahs asay shazman grama, on time-bound mitzvahs. When a woman sits in the sukkah, she doesn't make a bracha leisha b'sukkah. When she shakes the lulav, she doesn't make a bracha because those are time-bound mitzvahs. And according to the Sfardim, according to the Shulchan Aruch, you don't have to make a bracha. However, even though they're patur in Talmud Torah, they are chayiv to make birchas haTorah when they're learning. Explains the Beis Halevi because they're not patur entirely from Talmud Torah. They're only patur from the second part, which we'll get to in a second. They're chayiv, though, to learn Torah in order to know what to do. In fact, it's the women who run our kitchen. It's the women who probably need to know most of the halachos that we have in Am Yisrael because they're the ones who run the home, and that's where the halacha is. And therefore, the first aspect of learning Torah, the reason why we learn, is because we believe that it's a system of how to live our life in the best possible way. You get up in the morning, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is thank you. Thank you, wow, is appreciation. They have full books now for self-help that teach you how to have a morning routine. But if you look at the halacha of what our morning routine looks like, it's pretty much a synopsis of that. Now, all these self-help books, they inspire you to live a certain way. But we are blessed. Not only are we inspired to live that way, it's built into our education and into our routine where we say Modeh when I wake up, and we have hygiene, and then we go through a list. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me the ability to see, and the ability to stand, and the ability to wear my clothes. It's true, we're so used to the routine of it that sometimes we miss it. But once we click and we realize, oh my goodness, that's what brachos means. I actually stop and I meditate for a half hour appreciating all of the things that I want, all the things that I have, and aligning my thoughts in Shmona Esrei and saying, what are I want to have chachma and bina and das, and I want to have health, and that's exactly what the morning prayer is. Taking time for values, for learning, for understanding. So it's a system of how to best live our life. That's the first aspect of Talmud Torah. That's called na'aseh, how to actively live my life. But then there's another part of Talmud Torah, which is called nishma, which is even after I know what to do, I'm still willing to learn, and that's what's called Talmud Torah Lishma. Talmud Torah Lishma, and I think I gave you this story in the past, but I like to mention it every single Shavuot as we get close to it, because I believe it's a whole new aspect of Talmud Torah, and it's an aspect that is able to show our deeper connection with Hashem. And what's that aspect? This is the mashal that I like to give. It's my most favorite mashal when it comes to Shavuos. And the mashal goes like this, where there's a soldier. A soldier, he's out in the Midwest, and he's sent out to war in Europe, overseas. He leaves behind his wife, his little baby in the crib, the farm. And when he's out overseas, so every week or so, letters come in. So he's waiting, and he's out in battle, and they come back to the camp, and the captain calls out different letters. And one day he hears the captain calling out his name. He got a letter from back home. He gets the envelope. He right away sees on the outside of the envelope, it's his wife's handwriting. He's all excited. He opens up the letter. He takes it out. He reads the letter. He gets excited about the letter. She tells him how she loves him. She tells him how much, their little girl started taking her first steps, and she misses him. And she writes a whole long letter, and she signs her name. Now, what does he do with that letter when he's done with that letter? He doesn't crumple it up and throw it out. Oh, I already read it. Let me crumple it up. No, he folds it up. He puts it in his chest pocket inside his jacket. When he's in war, he's holding on to it tight. When it's late at night and everyone's going to sleep and he feels lonely, he opens it up and he reads it. Why is he reading it again? He already knows what it said. And you know what? He read it twice, 3 times. How many times could you read the same letter again and again? Why is he reading it again? Because every time he reads that letter again, he feels connected to his loved one. He feels connected to his wife. He feels connected to his family that is back home. The letter is a letter of connection. That's exactly what studying the Torah is all about. Hashem is our loving Father in heaven. He's compared to our loving spouse. He's compared to our best friend. But it's a different realm. We have no way of connecting to Hashem. What does that mean? So many people that live today, even so many Jews, unfortunately the majority of Jews, they think that, what does that mean? Is there even a God? What does that mean to connect to God? It's very vague. It's not real because Hashem lives in a different realm. But yet, someone who's blessed to study the Torah, to study the words, the wisdom, the values, that's when we're able to connect. That's when we're able to understand one another and to feel the love and to connect to somebody that's far away through the words that he sent me. So the Torah in a certain way is a letter that God sent to humanity. He sent it to us. Are we going to read it? Are we interested in finding out what it says in it? And even once we do know what it says in it, and we the Chachamim who've learned the Torah, Kol Torah Kula, Marbin L'Sapir B'Yitzias Mitzrayim, they still say over the story. Why? Because it's the love story of Hashem, how he took us out. It's the love story of how Hashem entered that relationship with us. And when we have that love story, when we have that, so how many times will I tell my children the story of how I met my wife, right? It's so interesting to them. Oh, can you tell it to us again? It's so interesting. Can you tell me that? Oh, and when did you? Because it's exciting. And when you're excited about something, so then you want to read it again and again. So yes, Seder night is a perfect example. We're doing the same Seder night every single Seder night because that is the core. That's the story that says our relationship. That's when we got engaged. Zacharti lo chesed neuraich avas kelulosayich lechtech acharai b'midbar. Says the Navi, I remember the love of your engagement that you walked after me into the desert. We got engaged. Hashem said, come, you will be my spouse. You will be my child. Beni Bechori Yisrael. You will be my servant. I will be your Adon, your master. You will no longer be a slave to Paro, but you will be my servant. And we will have that warm relationship of a master and a servant, of a father and a child, of a husband and a wife, of a friend and a friend. And those are the relationships we have with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it gets manifested through the Talmud Torah, through the learning of the Torah. And that's exactly, I didn't give this whole long speech to this general, but I tried to convey those 2 messages. Number 1, the instruction book of life, of how to best live our life. But number 2, it's that ongoing relationship, and it's a deep love that we have with the Almighty. And even though he lives in a different realm, when we're studying the values that he taught us, and we're choosing to live our life based on those values. So every time we're reading the Torah and we're saying, this is amazing. Did you see the new Chiddush I just found in it? This is amazing. And we're mesmerized more and more. It's like having a long distance relationship through mails and through chatting and through whatever it might be, but we're connecting. A deep relationship can be forged and formulated through the connection to similar values, to understanding the higher goals, to start thinking the way Hashem wants us to think like him. And that's what it means to be a Jew. And that's why the marriage of Am Yisrael is Matan Torah. This entire time period was our engagement period. It's, the excitement towards Matan Torah is sort of the excitement towards that first wedding. When a young girl gets engaged, she's all excited. And then there's the counting and the preparation. And the counting and the preparation, how many days until Matan Torah, and preparing myself to get ready into that deep love relationship. And that's what Shavuos is all about. And we're less than a week away. In fact, we're starting the Shloshas Yemei Hagbala. We're just 3 days away. And those 3 days are really the days where Hashem says, I want you to be focused on my relationship with you. We have a relationship. In fact, Bnei Yisrael, when they were by Har Sinai, they had to sort of take a break from any other relationship and just focus on that relationship. That's what Shavuot is all about. So we're not at Matan Torah, we're not taking any breaks from our relationships, but it is a time period for us. These days, right now, is every day together with our spouses at home, together with our grandchildren over Zoom, together with our friends over the phone, whatever it might be. It's the time period to try to deepen that relationship and deepen that connection through learning something new, through taking on a new mitzvah, through doing one specific good action to help another person. Each and every one of those things helps build our relationship with the Almighty, helps build our relationship with Hashem. And when we do that, then we're coming prepared to Matan Torah. We're coming prepared. We realize that all of the mitzvahs and all of the commandments, they're not just rules, but rather they're built in order to foster our relationship. More and more after spending 3 months with the kids at home, we recognize the importance of rules and structure. If there's no structure, so then it's chaos. Then the kids are yearning for structure. If you love me, how come you never told me that I'm not allowed to do it? If you love me, how come you never told me to go to sleep on time? Right? Baruch Hashem, we're not at that stage, but a child understands that a parent who loves them will guide them also. And that's really now a deeper understanding of the first part of the Torah, which is the learning in order to understand what to do. This represents the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The rules themselves are able to shine in our relationship. And that was the Havamina of the angels. See, the angels, they understand the second part of Talmud Torah, of the Nishma, of the let's learn Torah Lishma. Let's have that love letter, that relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. In fact, they learn Torah Lishma on the highest level. They learn Torah Lishma. They learn through the whole Torah. They have a deep relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. However, our one over them was the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to articulate that, yes, maybe you're stronger than us when it comes to Talmud Torah Lishma, but we have Naaseh and Nishma. And we're willing to do, even though we didn't even fully listen to all the details of what needs to happen. I don't know all the details yet of what needs to happen, but I said Naaseh, I'm willing to do it. And therefore, because we have our setbacks, because we went down to Mitzrayim, because we have jealousy, because we have a Yetzer Hara, because we get upset, therefore we need the mitzvos and the commandments of do not kill and do not steal and do not covet and honor your parents and have a day of rest and believe in Hashem and no avodah zarah. Those are all the mitzvos that we need because we are physical human beings. And that is the reason why we got the Torah. And that's why on Shavuot, it is the only holiday that one needs to do Chetziol Lachem and Chetziol Hashem. You're not allowed to fast on Shavuos and just stay in shul. One would think, let's just learn all day. But no, you have a mitzvah to stop and to eat and to enjoy the physical world on Shavuos as well, because that is the reason why we got the Torah. Those are the two aspects of Talmud Torah. I tried to articulate it to this general in a soft conversation of 5 minutes, not as deep as I'm explaining it right now, not with quoting any Gemaras and any Mar Mekomos, but I believe this is the core of what it means to be a Jew, is to understand that the Torah that we have, the Torah Shebichtav and the Torah Shebal Peh that was given alongside it, the learning of it, the studying of it, the yearning to understand it, gives us two benefits in our life. Number one, we learn how to best live our life, how to have the best relationships with our children and our grandchildren and our spouses. Number two, not only does it give us the tools of how to best live our life and to have a clear structure in the morning routine and afternoon routine, it also gives us a deep spiritual relationship with the Almighty, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And those two things, when a person lives that type of life and understands that's why he's learning Torah, could transform the whole essence of his life, could transform what he does every single day. And even that 1 hour of learning that he does could change who he is. Because just by using that 1 hour to learn, to connect, to understand, his whole way of life becomes a different way of life, becomes a life of somebody who glorifies Hashem's name, and that when people see him, they say, "Oh, your parents must be proud of you." People say, "Oh, this person is a frum person," as the Gemara says, that a person who lives a life of Torah, a person who studies the Torah, should be the type of person that when people see him on the street, people see him in business, people see him how he walks with his children, he should be a type of person that everyone says, "Wow, what a lucky person that is. Look how he lives his life. Look how his children are. Look how his parents are. Look how whatever it is." You could just see it on that person. That's a person who understands what Talmud Torah is all about. I think this is what our avoda leading up to Shavuot is all about, trying to internalize this lesson, to understand it, and to incorporate it into our life. Yashar koach, and I want to wish everyone